We started off with the book of Judges. When Israel comes back and possesses the land, they don't drive the pagans out. And they come in and they intermarry with the pagans. And a new generation rises up that does not know Jehovah God. When Joshua dies, they take off and go back after Ashtaroth and Baal in the Grove in that second chapter of Judges. And then in Judges, the 6th chapter, these are the high points. Judges 2nd chapter. Judges 2. As soon as Joshua is dead, Joshua's dead, they take off after Baal or Balaam and Ashtaroth. If it's an O, it's plural. If it's O, it's plural. If it's E, it's singular. Ashtoreth or Ashtaroth. Ashtaroth, they had many of the deities. All the Ashtaroths were the female deities. That was a generic term for all the female tree deities. It comes from A-S-T-E-R, which is the word star. Since they deified them in the stars, they took that word star and they called them Ashtaroth. Well, this is the female deities. They go back, and the next time you see a high point, the next really true high point, we're not saying Baal in the Grove is not in there, but the next high point is in Judges, the 6th chapter. Judges 6. We're talking about real significant points in Scripture where Israel is going after these gods. In Judges, the 6th chapter, this is where God comes to Gideon, a dirt farmer, and says, "Thou mighty man of valor, I want you to destroy all Baal and Grove worship in Israel." Well, that's his whole purpose. We went through that. It'd be too long to get into. It's a long story. But that's what he did in the 6th chapter. Now, I want to bring us up to date. We're talking about all these places where God brings all of this into Israel. Now, let's go over here. I like to make this a special place. I loved Asa when I first met him. I met Asa years ago. I really loved this man. He was the son of Abijah, who was the son of Rehoboam. And there's 2 kings up here on the left side of the board that I had a real special heart for. And I thought, gosh, why did you guys fall on your face? And if they could see me, they'd say, "I don't know, why did you fall on your face?"
That's right.
Why did you start preaching out over America and all these churches and end up in nightclubs, Jim Brown? And I couldn't understand Asa any more than I can understand myself. And I couldn't understand his son Jehoshaphat. These are 2 of the most righteous kings, but they weren't put into the lineage of righteous kings because Asa got ornery when he got old. Yet he was one of the most righteous men because of the way he treated his mother concerning her gods. People say, you need to honor your father and mother. Well, let's look over in the 15th chapter of 1 Kings and let's see. Did Asa honor his mother? Yeah, but not in the way you think. Not in the way you might think. All right, verse 8. I like this as a high point because it doesn't have a great story to it, but what it says is really powerful. And Asa, his father was Abijah. Sometimes it says Abijam or Abijah. It was a common name like John back then. All right, let's read here in verse 8. And Abijah, who was the father of Asa, Abijah slept with his fathers. He dies. And they buried him in the city of David, and Asa his son reigned in his stead. Abijah dies, Asa reigns. Now this is the conviction that Asa had. In the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, reigned Asa over Judah. Let me read that again. In the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Asa begins to reign. He's been reigning 20 years when Asa starts to reign. All right. And you have to pay attention to know who's kings of Israel and who's kings of Judah. I've got some copies of the kings of Israel and Judah. I need to make them up. I'll make them up here in this next week and pass them out again so you'll have a chart on the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah. Now, in 41 years reigned he in Jerusalem. Now, this is talking about Asa. He reigned 41 years. And his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abishalom. And Asa did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord. He was really a godly man. You want to see how right he did, you go to the 14th chapter of 2nd Chronicles. Now, 1st and 2nd Samuel, let me just kind of review this. 1st and 2nd, 1st Samuel is the book of David. Well, let me say Saul and David. Saul is the king there. In the 8th chapter, the people ask for a king. He's picked out in the 9th chapter. God picks him out in the 9th chapter. He takes over the kingdom. He doesn't get his official coronation until the 12th chapter, but he fights Nahash in the 11th chapter, the king of the Ammonites. And he's picked out in this 9th and 10th chapter, but he doesn't do the will of God from the 13th through the 15th chapter. He gets goofy, gets crazy. So God replaces him in his sight with David in the 16th chapter. But as far as the people are concerned, Saul is the king till the 31st chapter. For as God is concerned, from the 16th to the 31st chapter, David is king. And all this time, Saul is chasing David, trying to kill him. Well, of course, Saul dies at Mount Gilboa, and David traps him several times. And we're going to get into David's family, particularly his nephews, Joab and Abishai. Now, I get to saying these names so fast that sometimes I'm liable to say Abishai and I'll have Joab up here in my mind. So y'all know what I'm talking about, don't you? I'm saying these names just 100 miles an hour, so you have to understand. I know that Joab was the commander of Israel, but I might say Abishai, but I don't mean to. It's because I'm saying these words, and sometimes I'm thinking way out here and I'm talking right here. So y'all forgive me for making those mistakes. That doesn't make me a false teacher. Oh, all right, now. And then we go, Saul dies in 1 Samuel 31, and then you get in 2 Samuel, and David is king. And what I'll do, I'll lay out these books in chapters. In fact, I've got 1 Samuel already outlined, and outlined 2 Samuel. And I'll lay it out in chapters so you can remember where things are. If you'll section off, you need to learn to section off Scripture where things are. You've got to remember, this is the books of the kings. Remember, this is about Saul and David. And then God rejects Saul after the 13th to the 15th chapter. David becomes king in God's eyes. Well, if David is king and he's a shepherd boy and he goes fights Goliath, it has to be right after the 16th chapter. Well, it is. It's in the 17th chapter when he fights Goliath. And you can remember it that way. Remember, he's made king in the 16th chapter. He's a shepherd boy. He goes out to take some pizza to his brothers or whatever he takes to them, cheeses, figs. And he goes out there, and it's in the 17th chapter. In the 18th chapter, he becomes Saul's bodyguard because Saul's real impressed about him going out there and killing. But the women start saying, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s, and Saul gets bent out of shape and goes, and he begins his quest in the 19th chapter, goes all the way through the book trying to kill David. David's got 400 to 600 in his army, 400 to 600,